I've had this heat gun for many years now, and recently it's starting to act a bit odd. Sometimes when I turn up the air, not enough airflow comes out of it, and not coming up to temperature either. So makes me believe that the heating core element is probably faulty. Not the core spring itself, but the thermistor more than likely, which is that little piece right there. So I've had it for about, I'd say 6, almost 7 years now. But it looks like it may need to be replaced. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So first there's 4 screws on the bottom. I've already taken this apart before, but I put it back together just to show you guys how to take it apart properly. Now the first time I took it apart, got the heating core element out. However, I had a replacement that it had come with, but I did not have that piece of paper that wraps around the heating element. And that piece of paper that I thought was just trash initially when I purchased it is actually insulation called obsidian paper insulation, which apparently protects the plastic but also the heating element as well inside. And when I took apart the other one, it just spewed all sorts of little fragments of what looked like glass, or fiberglass I should say, and that was the obsidian paper. So it made a huge mess, so just be wary. If you do that, it will get all over the place, so make sure that you have something to clean it up properly, because it's literally tiny crystalline pieces. It looks like fiberglass. But anyways, we have the heating element open. Here's the blower fan, a little attachment that goes after the blower fan to direct the air. Just gonna move this out of the way, and then we're going to remove the heating element, which is in this casing here. And oh, it looks like my cat is coming here. Alright, so now that we have the heating assembly open, the heat core is in this metal tube here. Now there's some kind of epoxy or glue or rubber, right, cement that goes around here to, I believe, seal off the airflow going this way, but it's a little bit difficult to take off. But if you just kind of remove it from this little edge, it just pops right off, and this comes straight out, such as so. And the heating element is right in here. So this is what I meant when initially I had already taken it apart before. This was wrapped around in the obsidian paper. Now the obsidian paper is this stuff here. This is actually the one that I got off of AliExpress. That's the part number and name. And this is the obsidian paper that is a nightmare once it dries up, because there's little specks of obsidian, I would believe, and it just makes a huge mess. So you already see some coming off of it right now, but imagine that, all those little specks, by a lot more. She's already all over the place. So this wraps around the heating element. This is the old one that we're going to replace, but it wraps around the heating element, and then it goes into this tube at the same time. Now we're going to desolder the old heating element off with from this little board. Now I've seen others with their heating elements where the coils have actually ripped apart or just broken off, and I'm sure that's due to high temperature and extended use. But again, my issue seems that the thermistor itself had gone out for some odd reason or another, and it's not properly showing proper temperatures to regulate the airflow, which is what had seemed to be happening on mine. So let's go ahead and take out the old one. So if you look at this board, pretty simple. No really digital electronics in there at all. Looks like just connections. So let's go ahead and get this off. I have this little gripper thing to hold it a lot easier. I got my soldering iron already warmed up. So the thermistor doesn't have polarity on the cable connection, so you don't have to worry about it of how you connect them as long as one or the other connected to those two spots. However, the positive and ground are noted with the red here and the black wires. Now I already marked it with a Sharpie here to show me that that's the red and that's the black, or the positive and the ground. Again, since I opened this before already, before I realized that I had thrown away again this piece of obsidian paper that again I thought was trash originally when I bought this this whole heat gun thing, but now we have one, and this was only about I want to say it was about $3 or so. With shipping, it was about another $1 or so. So for $4 you can get a whole new heating element. You just have to pretty much do this. You can get a whole new heat gun for about 15 bucks, but I mean, for $3 and a couple minutes, I'd rather save that 10 bucks. So now that we have the old one off, we're gonna put the new one on. Now these are already pre-tinned here on the connectors, and if you get one that is not pre-tinned like these, and you'll have to strip them. I found out that was pretty difficult because I actually bought a separate one of these, and for some reason this insulating wire material, it's very hard to get with a wire stripper, and I made the mistake of cutting the positive lead too short, and it was just not long enough to properly sit into the assembly here. So I had to buy another one. Cost went up from about $5 to $8, still halfway through to the cost of a new heat gun assembly, which I don't mind at all. But yeah, let's go ahead and put these on. Again, the polarities of the thermistor doesn't matter, it's just these two. Now again, these are pre-tinned, but usually they use some kind of not the best solder, so I just want to make sure that's fresh solder on this. So I'm just gonna put a little bit fresh solder on there. There we go. Get the positive, thermistor lead and the ground. Clean up my tip there a bit. There we go, that looks good. Alright, so let's go ahead and put in the thermistor first. Again, it doesn't matter which one of these that we're gonna connect it to. So here's the first one. Get that all nice and warmed up, and there we go. Let it cool. Alright, so the first thermistor wire is in. Second one. Alright. That looks good too. And we're going to do the positive next, which is this one here. Alright, positive is in. And lastly, the ground. Alright, so easy as that. We already have all these in, and these feel like really good quality connector leads. The ones that it came with are pretty janky. I mean, they work, but not the best. Looks like they're just standard copper core. I think these were aluminum core or something, but a lot better. The gauge definitely seems a lot bigger. So we're all done here. We're just gonna reassemble it. So the fan, the wire will come up from the bottom, so make sure that it's on the bottom side. And again, make sure that you're wrapping this with the obsidian paper. And I'm just going to wrap it around tightly so it does fit into. Hopefully this adhesive line keeps it in place, and if not, I could just super glue it at some point. But now that that is in place, let's go ahead and tuck all this in. Now, one thing to be careful here is to not have these wires over this screw, so just make sure that this screw hole can neatly sit on top of it. But also, when you're putting this through, there's this rubber gasket thing for the cable cord here. Alright, and I'm just going to tuck this in a little bit forward. And remember, again, the fan cable will be on the bottom side. And there we go. So now we have everything lined up properly. I'll put the screw in. Now, if you haven't already invested in an automatic screwdriver, you should. I've had this for a good number of years. It was cheap. It was like 10 bucks, I think, on AliExpress. I'll see if I can get you a link for it. But it works great. Battery lasts a while, and it has a cool light on there. Not very bright, but it works. USB charging. But it's an absolute lifesaver, at least for little things like this. Alright, so now we're going to put in the lower fan. And again, it was on the bottom side because we want the intake facing upwards. Because if you notice, there's no intake here. Now that may look like an intake, but that's not actually through holes right there. So make sure the intake is upwards. Now I'm going to take the air duct and place it back on. Now this just sits neatly into it, into the exhaust port of the fan. And then there's a couple notches right here in the middle. Just make sure that this ring around the venting thing sits properly in between. Alright, looks like our heating element over here went up a little bit. And I'm just going to bend these leads a little bit just so they're not kind of pushing on the heating element too much. Alright, there we go. Alright, so that's sitting properly. Oop, looks like we got a cable here hanging about. Let's actually scoot that inside. There we go. Alright. So from here, we just got to put the top on. Now, one thing to check is just make sure there's no wires on these screw holes here, because you will be screwing those screws in there and you don't want to damage one of those once you put the top on. Alright, so I'm going to hold this straight just so that it slides on properly. Alright, so now we have the top on there. We just got to screw everything together. Just want to make sure that this is on good where that adhesive gasket thing is. Alright, that holds it good. Alright, two top ones are on. Bottom one's on. Alright, looks like we're good. One good tightening last. Alright, so looks like we're all set. Let's go ahead and plug it in. And just so you know, this is actually for a 8-pin connector type heat gun. And it's for a bench heat gun. Alright, so it is plugged in now. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Alright, so the one thing that was an issue was that the fan speed was not working and the temperature hold was not either. So right now I already see the temperature at max at 500 degrees Celsius according to the screen, and it's at 1 of the air meter. So let's bring it up to half. Alright, that's about half. That looks good. Up to temperature. And I'm going to put it to max. And there's the max. Alright, and that's already coming out very, very hot. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more little things like this, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, and see you in the next one.